Hey guys, Freedom Uninterrupted here. I apologize for the delay since my last couple videos. It's been kind of a hectic week. Uh, One of my coworkers got married, and I attended a bachelor party for him on Thursday. The actual wedding itself was Friday, which was last night, and so we're just getting back to it today. Um, I'll probably throw a couple of videos out there tonight, but the first one I want to talk for a second about having women as friends. Now, I know that at one point, our favorite little MGTOW Sandman did have female friends. I watched one of his videos today from about 2 years ago where he talked about having female friends, and it sounds like he did at one point, but then if you listen to some of his newer stuff, he talks about interacting with women as little as possible. So I'm under the impression that he's since given that up. I'd be interested to hear in the comments some of the thoughts from some fellow MGTOWs about, what your thoughts are on having female friends. Personally, I have female friends. Um I don't. I don't prefer hanging out with them. I generally don't spend a lot of time with most of them. There's one that I will see because she happens to be my bartender as well, so I do see her fairly regularly. Um, but for the most part, my other female friends are strictly texting kind of buddies, somebody to bounce ideas off of. And that's really what I wanted to drive with this. And this is going to be a pretty short video. But, for all the guys out there that are saying, oh, you shouldn't have female friends or, disconnect completely from women, although I don't disagree with you, I think we are missing by at least some of us uh, not having female love. Let me rephrase that. I lost my train of thought there. Um, I feel like without some of us having female friends, we are losing a great opportunity to get a viewpoint into the mindset of women, kind of keeping up on the newest tools of the trade, if you will. Uh, I have certain female friends that, and let me specify here. When I say friends, I mean I have female acquaintances that I talk to. I call them friends. Do I consider them friends? No, it's just the easiest term for it. Um, so I have female friends that I talk to primarily to get a viewpoint into, the newest tools of the trade for women. It's how I know about Bumble. For those of you that don't know, Bumble is the newest Tinder replacement. It's an app that requires women to send the first message. So basically, same premise as Tinder. And if you don't know Tinder, well, go check it out. I'm not going to talk about it on this channel. Well, I will talk about Tinder later on, but I'm not going to explain to you what Tinder is. If you don't know what it is already, go check it out. It is a very stupid concept, but anyway, so along comes Bumble, and Bumble is a dating app that works exactly the same as Tinder, but the women have to send the message first, and they have 24 hours to send that message, or that match goes away. So, before I went full MGTOW, I very briefly had a Bumble at the suggestion of this female friend. I went on it about 2 weeks, got no matches, and promptly deleted it because fuck that. Um, so the point I'm making though is that in having female friends, this allows us, and I get that some guys don't want female friends. Uh, I understand that, but it allows us to keep up to date on uh, what sort of technologies, if you will, maybe not technologies, but what sort of techniques are more and more commonplace, to hear what kinds of things men are being accused of, especially if most of your friends are MGTOW as well. It's a good it's a good source of what's happening, and a lot of times the female friends will be a little bit more honest with you, especially if they don't see you as a threat or as somebody that they would be interested in sexually or procuring resources from. My one female friend who told me about Bumble, actually, we have a friendship, quote unquote, in which I've made it clear to her I have no interest in her. I will not date her. I will never date her. I don't want to have sex with her. I don't really want to hang out with her. We just chat from time to time via the cell phone. So she'll tell me more intimate details about her personal life than, maybe somebody in which there's maybe some sexual tension, or, there's some interest in procuring resources from. Um, I have another friend who has an interest in me, and that feeling is not mutual, and she does not tell me half the shit that the other female friend will tell me. Now, one thing to keep in mind as well is, so let me rephrase that. So, as long as I can remember, when I have been in relationships in the past, one of the first people that I go to for relationship advice is generally women, for the most part, actually. Again, giving up the whole relationship thing altogether, but when I was pursuing relationships, uh, I would always go to women for advice first. Because in my mind, I wanted to see what the female thought process was, and I hoped that by talking to a woman, I would be able to better deduce what was going on in the head of the female I was seeing at the time. Now, the takeaway from that, because they were almost always wrong, and my guy friends were more often right, and my gut feeling was more often right. So one takeaway from that, though, is that using female friends for information gathering may backfire, and they may be feeding you false information. Obviously, we know that women have a very strong tendency to lie about most things, and so we're putting a lot of faith in them telling us the truth to begin with. Now, I am skeptical of most of the things that I'm told by women, including the female friends that I use for information gathering. I tend to use some deductive reasoning to see how much is right and how much is wrong, how much of it I can trust at all. And so the point I'm making is, if you're going to have female friends for the sake of gathering information about the opposite sex, take everything with a grain of salt. Don't sit there and blatantly accept everything that they're telling you as fact, because there could be ulterior motives. They could be hoping to suck you in, hoping to suck you back in, hoping to throw you off of your MGTOW course and feed you the blue pill again. Especially if you're soft-hearted, they will use the misogynist card. They'll pull the sexist card. Obviously, none of which is true about MGTOW. So take everything they say with a grain of salt, because there's probably an ulterior motive. However, having female friends is a very good opportunity for the 10% of truth that comes through to get a taste of what the female mind is thinking, and some of the techniques that they're using. More so the techniques. Things like ghosting, things like using guys for dinner, or using guys to finance dinners and movies and stuff. I didn't know about any of that until I made certain female acquaintances that proceeded to inform me that this was the norm. I was always naive, and for a long time before MGTOW, I thought that I was the problem, and so in getting ghosted, or paying for a meal or anything like that, I thought I was the problem. As it turns out, a lot of women will, in fact, use guys specifically for a meal and then hit the road. So, something to keep in mind. I apologize, the quality of this video is probably not the best. I just sat down in here and decided to chat a little bit about my input on the female friends. So, in summary, I support the idea of having female friends. Make sure that they are well aware that you have no interest in them. Otherwise, you will get fed the wrong information, for sure. Make sure that there's no sexual tension either. Um, do not create a situation in which sexual interaction can occur, because I know how guys are, and I know how I am myself, in that uh, if you start spilling too much of your life information out to them, and they see an advantage, or they see a use for you, they will try to suck you into the golden vagina. Which, another piece of advice here: if you have female friends, don't tell them too much. Keep it casual. You can talk about everything in the world without saying anything about yourself. I tend to talk about myself as little as possible, or if I do, it tends to be uh, nothing related to my value as a person, or my assets, anything that a woman would appreciate, money, things like that. Um, so I mean, and obviously, a smart guy is not going to talk about money to a woman anyway. But especially female friends, don't brag about your bonuses at work. Don't brag about how much money you make, or how much money you don't make, or what type of car you drive, because these are all ammo that you're giving them to fire back at you, the bait to hook you into the golden vagina. And you don't want to be that. You don't want to do that. You don't want to get sucked back into that. Um, so, like I said, guys, play it safe out there. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer. So that's it for me.